Good evening, dirtbags, and welcome to No One's Gonna Hear This Anyways. We're your hosts, Austin and Alex, and today we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff you're not going to hear anyways. And if you like hearing about absolutely nothing, like, share, subscribe to Not a Podcast. If you have any questions or requests, email us at notapodcast@gmail.com.
Or don't, because no one's going to hear this anyway.
I just got back from the dollar store, and the dollar store is always such a unique experience.
It's like Walmart brand Walmart.
Yeah, it like a lower tier than Walmart. Cause it's like it's it's the dollar store, man. And not just the dollar store, but the Dollar General. In, middle of nowhere, North Carolina.
Walmart brand dollar store. Yeah.
Dollar store brand dollar store. And there are always some very interesting specimens that walk in and out of that building that we get to experience every time because it just so happens to be the closest establishment that sells anything to my house.
Really? Are you guys that far out?
Yeah, essentially, but I mean it's only like a 2-minute drive to Dollar General and then like a 15-minute drive to the supermarket.
Oh,
You
okay.
see?
I thought you were saying like way out. Okay.
We are just far enough out that we still have a lot of the problems that you get living closer to town while having all the inconveniences of not living in town.
Hmm. That fucking blows.
Inconvenience number one, the closest thing we have next to us is the Dollar General. And that's where we go and get, like quick fixes. We'll get, if we run out of toilet paper, run down there, get toilet paper, get paper towel. And in this particular case, we wanted Oreos. And I promised Emily that I would get her Oreos. And we went and got her Oreos. And that's pretty much like the only function of the dollar store to me.
They have some what's it? Those sausages in the Vienna sausages.
I'm assuming so.
So, well, I'm saying it as a statement, but also like kind of forging the story. Back when I was a kid, like I'm talking little like toddler stage. My parents told me like I was obsessed with Vienna sausages just because they tasted so good, and I remember that. So I kind of trust them at their word for this one. It got to the point where I would crave them to the point of a tantrum. And
Yeah. You had a sausage tantrum?
Yeah, I wanted my salchichas, bro.
You need to have your salchichas.
No, not marimacha salchicha, just regular ass salchicha. And there just so happened to be a shopping center close by with a dollar store in it next to a Publix. So they would always try to avoid the aisle with the Vienna sausages at Publix. But there's basically a wall of it at the dollar store because it's cheap food. It's not
like it's just cheap processed crap.
Yeah, it's the leftover processed crap from processed crap. That's what Vienna sausage.
It didn't make the cut for hot dogs.
Yes.
And like everything makes the cut for hot dogs.
Dollar store brand hot dogs. That's what Vienna sausages are. And sorry if I'm like a little raspy or if I'm correcting my or coughing up a little bit. I'll tell you a story about this one in a second, but I was sick on Friday night. But just to wrap up the Vienna sausage story, yeah, they forgot that the fucking dollar store had basically a wall of this stuff, and I would go ham, just like reaching out from the cart and grabbing like a freaking hug full of these little tins and just dumping them into the cart. My grandma freaking out.
Give me all of them.
Give me all of these.
All the Vienna sausages.
And without fail, they would always cave and let me eat one while we're in the store, just so they can get out.
Oh, straight out of the can with your fingers.
Yeah, dude. Like sauce and all.
Animal.
Which is probably at least one of the reasons, if not all of the reasons, that I grew up all fucked up.
Yeah, that definitely contributed to it.
And super quick on the sick part, it's really freaky because Friday night I had this girl that I've been talking to over, and I cooked dinner. I had always like hyped her up, and we had a good time. She liked it. We're still in the process of talking, but she left, and I hopped back on my games, and like maybe 2 hours after she left, I got this like deep, painful, cringing feeling in my gut, and it's the start of body aches for me. And I normally don't get body aches unless I have a fever. So it's really weird that that happened first before I got my fever, because I did end up getting the fever. And I'm like, dude, did I not cook the chicken all the way through? I'm like, it was pretty dry. I'm pretty sure I cooked it like very thoroughly. So like all the thoughts started racing in my head, and then eventually my body got so it was in so much pain that I had to stop playing my games and go lay down and just kind of like writhe a bit in bed, because that's all I could do. It wasn't necessarily involuntary. It was just like following the spasms almost, just so I wouldn't spaz. So like mild panic. I was like, oh my god, I might actually have to call 911. This is super bad. I don't have a fever. What could this be? But the pain started to subside a little bit and started pulling back from my extremities and focused more on my core. Then I developed the fever. So I was like, okay, I'm just regular sick. I'm not dying.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like getting a fever was my sigh of relief.
Man, did you get the old C word?
No, not that night, because she was only available for like an hour and a half.
Man, what do you think I meant by the C word? I meant COVID.
Oh! I thought you were going for cooch. Okay.
No,
no,
I would
no.
just say that. I think we're at the point in our lives where I'd just say, did you get laid or not?
Okay. Yeah, I questioned it because we're on a not family friendly podcast. I was like, okay, weird censorship. But no, I haven't lost my sense of taste. Like, I actually have a Coke in front of me, and like I tasted just fine.
Yeah, but I never lost my sense of taste. I've had COVID twice.
But here's the thing, the weird part about it. I got the fever, and then I was up until like 5 in the morning, and at around 2:30 is when the pain went away, and just enough for me to like get up and actually entertain myself and go play games, but still not enough for me to fall asleep too.
Yeah.
So,
Man, I've only ever gotten sick a handful of times where it was to the extent that I couldn't like enjoy playing video games, that it wasn't even like a thought that would occur to me to even try playing. And like one of them was when I was young, I got what I later learned was the flu. And I was so sick. I had a massive fever, and my parents felt bad for me, so they went and rented like some games for me so that I could play, because I was on like day 3 of having, like 100 and something degree fever. And I remember specifically one of the games being like the Batman Begins game. I think it was for the Xbox original or the 360 or something. And I tried playing it, and I was able to play like 10 minutes, and my eyes were burning so bad that I couldn't play anymore.
Yikes, bro.
And then the only other times would be like food poisoning sick, where it's like last year, or almost a year exactly, Emily and I, we went to Miami. It was her birthday, and I took her out to Le Bouchon du Grove, if you've ever heard of that restaurant.
I have heard, and god dang.
So I took her out to have a nice French dinner in Coconut Grove. I made sure we sat outside. We were supposed to have the corner seat, but there was a family that was lurking there for too long, so we just took a side seat outside. And I ordered the mussels. And this is not the first time I'd gotten sick from mussels, but I was like, I'm ready to get hurt again. I want to try some mussels. And I got so sick that night. I was up the entire night, just absolutely miserable. I had like I think we had brought to my parents' house. We brought like my Switch or something, and it didn't. There wasn't even a thought in my head to try and like occupy my brain with video games. I was just miserable. I took like 4 showers, probably lost like 5 or 6 pounds.
Yeah, that's another thing. I feel lighter. I feel like I lost a ton of weight. But uh, just to finish up my story super quick, it happened to me Friday night, and by yesterday afternoon, I was back at 100%. It's like I was never sick. The only
That's
thing is,
crazy.
I have kind of like the phlegmy buildup from being sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess because it was such an acute onset that it just kind of like built up and never had the chance to like dribble out through being sick.
Mm-hmm.
So now my healthy body is just like dumping it out.
That's crazy though. I mean, pretty much less than 24-hour turnaround, huh?
Yeah, the last time I had aches like that, I was out of commission for like 4 days. I had the hardcore aches for a couple of hours the very first day as the onset, but then I still had kind of like, I call it brittle bone syndrome, where it's just like you feel delicate.
Mm-hmm.
I had that for like 2 days, and then from like days 3 and 4, I felt good enough to go back to work, but I was still kind of like miserable. I couldn't sleep. The lack of sleep wasn't helping. Loss of appetite, all that. Like I just felt like
Mm-hmm.
trash.
Did you talk to this girl you had a date with and ask her, hey, how are you
Yeah,
feeling?
no. Hey, this is. Let me read you the
Yeah.
text.
Just like kind of like poke at it, hint at it.
Let's see. Hey, your weekend going by all right? You get any sleep?
Yeah.
And she goes,
Subtly.
yeah, it's been great, and blah blah blah. She kept, she went off on her own thing.
So no symptoms for her, I suppose.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this was just a freak something, which I mean, yeah, I'll go get tested for the Rona tomorrow when I go into work, because we have a COVID testing facility.
Well, I
For
assume so.
Yeah, and they'll get it. It takes like 2-3 hours to get the results out, so I can know by that afternoon. And I highly doubt it though. Like this does not feel like a traditional sickness. Like it must have been just an extremely aggressive reaction to I thought it was gonna end up being salmonella
Yeah.
because of chicken.
Yeah, but chicken's also really easy to know if it's clean or not, like if it's cooked or not. Unless the chicken was old, you can tell when chicken's undercooked.
Yeah. No, and
Like,
no, I don't cook my chicken medium rare.
yeah,
Have you seen that shit
I
before?
wouldn't I wouldn't suggest it.
There was a
No, but
tick
that does remind me of the guy. Do you remember the raw meat experiment guy?
Rami vaguely.
It was on Instagram.
The
It
Liver
was
King,
like,
that guy?
no, not the Liver King. That guy sucks. That guy just eats bull testicles raw. But technically, that's like beef. I guess you can safely eat it raw. But the raw meat experiment was this dude who every day for X amount of days was eating raw meat of some kind in front of Whole Foods. Like every single day, and we'd record it. And he was eating like chicken breast raw and pork raw and like all kinds of different raw foods that you're not really supposed to. I mean, you're not supposed to eat that, right? Like
Yeah, no,
that's
you're.
kind of what they teach you not to do.
Yeah, we have evolved past the need to be able to digest raw food. Like when we learned to cook, like tens of thousands of years ago, our ability to digest raw food and not get sick from it has deteriorated. And on top of that, the nutrients you get from raw meat is not I'm not going to say not valid anymore, but it's like not as worth it than if you just cook it. Are you following what I'm saying? I feel like I described it poorly.
Well, I'm trying to understand what the logic behind that would be.
So
Like,
raw red meat is very high in iron because you still have a lot of
blood.
yeah. There's still the blood. There's still the hemato something or other that I can never remember the name of. Also the parasites, the bacteria, the viruses, and the amino acids that you find. There are more of them present in the raw meat because once you put them on the heat, some of those amino acids decompose, the protein change, they denature, so you lose a lot of that. But it's irrelevant because of two reasons. One, our body no longer needs that dense of a nutrient intake at once. Because of reason number two, we've evolved to the point of a well-balanced diet. Cooking also makes it taste better, which is kind of like half of the reason why evolution decided to stick with it. The other half being they wanted to avoid getting sick. It just so happened that the species of hominid that learned how to cook was the one that survived longer. Obvious
It's
reasons.
also like more easily digestible as cooked food.
For us.
Yeah, for us because it's I guess partially, broken down already.
Way back when, our stomach pH was even lower. We were more acidic because we also ate bone. Our guts are fucking pussy shit compared to 50,000 years ago.
Yeah, of course, and that's kind of the whole argument of evolution, where we've kind of gone past like natural selection, for instance.
Yes, we
There's
have
not really much of natural selection anymore for human beings.
Yes, we have. Oh fuck! I just had the word. I wanted to call it selective selection, but obviously that's fucking dumb. We have planned selection. There we go. We can literally plan out the next stage of human evolution if we ever decided to, through what we were talking about last time. God.
Well, like selective breeding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you knew that there was going to be some kind of
right, but
event.
it would take multiple generations for this to occur. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Eugenics, that's the word. That's what I wanted to.
Yeah.
Which we kind of already do it subconsciously for the most part. There is a good bit of study going into physical attraction as it relates to immunological compatibility, where you historically, our primal instincts want our kids to survive. That's just the normal bit of being a parent. Part of that involves your immune system, so you want the dad's immune system to be transferred via the sperm, which it does. And then you also want the mothers have to be complementary. If I, just as an example, you're aware that there's like a bajillion different strains of the flu, right?
Yes, it's ever evolving.
So if I'm immune to influenza variant, 1 through 5, and I find a girl that's immune to variants 6 through 10, subconsciously, I would actually find her more attractive than the exact same copy of her if she was only covering 1 through 5. And it's nothing, groundbreaking. Like, there's still enough variance in the data to say otherwise. But there is kind of a trend that they notice, that they're like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So in the background, there's still a little bit of selective breeding at play.
Yeah, subconsciously, you want your lineage to be as strong as it can be.
Yep.
Also, my wife is fucked and our kid's fucked because I got like a shitty immune system. I get sick all the time. I beat it every time, but I get sick nonstop. It's crazy.
It might just be an exposure thing.
Yeah, I mean, exposure and sleep deprivation probably have something to do with it.
That's another big one. Sleep deprivation. Yeah.
Man, because at work, like, there'll be stretches. Like, I worked 5 days straight, right? Which is what,
20
120
hours. Holy
hours? Yeah,
crap.
120 hours. And, like, when I finish that, like, about halfway through or the very end, I always feel sick. Like, when I got home
Oh, you're saying
on.
120 hours, like "Brr, brr, 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 hasta la
Yeah,
mañana," like keep it
yeah,
going. Holy
without
shit!
going home.
Wow.
120 hours without going home. That because I'm at a station, I'm at the firehouse, and we won't sleep. If you sleep 3 out of the 5 nights, you still barely slept. Like if you sleep all night, it's still poor quality sleep. So even if you sleep 5 out of 5, like I remember I worked 6 straight ones, so 144 straight hours, and when we slept almost every night, it was remarkable. It was super lucky, I think. Like the first night we didn't sleep, but every other night I slept the whole night, and I still felt like absolute shit because you're kind of sleeping with one eye open. You're sleeping on like a plastic covered single mattress with a bunch of dudes, in the
Mm-hmm.
same room, and then running calls all day. You don't sleep well. So I think that might have something to do with it.
You'd
But
think they'd take care of emergency service people's a little bit better because that's a fucking liability, dude.
what?
Like you're dead ass tired. Like granted, you're trained to function under those conditions,
Hmm.
but you're dead ass tired and you're in charge of saving people.
Yeah, so once upon a time they had I think it was a 96-hour rule, and then when COVID happened, they canceled that, and they never put it back into place. So like you weren't able to work more than that. You'd have to take at least 12 hours off, and then you could come back to work. But once COVID happened and we were so desperate for personnel, they cut that out and they just never put it back because we're still so desperate for personnel.
Oh fuck yeah, that's another point. You
But
need the
that's
people.
that's a conversation for another time. But
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about genetics, and that reminds me of like my first topic that I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
Have you read or heard that this company, I think is Colossal Biosciences,
Mm-mm.
is working to bring back the dodo? I think they're also working on the woolly mammoth as well.
Okay, I've heard the woolly mammoth. The dodo has been thrown around as a meme
No,
for a
that
really long time.
the dodo is real. Like they have secured $150 million in funding
Holy shit.
to plan to like that they're planning on using to bring the dodo back. And my man, let me tell you that that is possibly the stupidest looking bird I have ever seen.
Which iteration of the dodo? Because there's a few. Let's
I'm
see.
I'm not sure specifically.
Yeah, there's a couple of iterations. There's the fuzzy one where the feather plumage is not fine plumage like the birds we have now.
Hmm.
Then you have the sleek feathered one, which is more oily. It's a lot. It looks a lot cleaner. The feathers aren't as obtrusive. And then there's a third one that it looks like it just got zapped by a bolt of lightning, and like its feathers are just splayed out.
I'm not sure which one it's they're bringing back,
But
but
anyway, the point I was trying to make with that one was the the dodo has evolved itself into existence on 3 separate occasions.
mhm. Kind of like the kiwi. I believe the kiwi had been extinct at some point.
Yeah, and then it came back.
Hmm. But the dodo is, I'm not sure which iteration of the dodo they were trying to bring back. I just know that they were trying to bring it back. And I find this to be ridiculous and also, scary. Like, have these people not seen Jurassic Park or read the book? Like,
Well, yeah, the dodo is kind of the best way to go about that.
yeah, but they're also trying to bring back a woolly mammoth. Where are they gonna put that thing? Siberia?
Yeah.
Like,
Just make the
like
woolly mammoth and throw it at Russia.
they are, 9 to 11 feet tall. Woolly mammoths. That's huge, and it's like an African elephant. I think is similarly heighted, and if
Yeah.
it's a steppe mammoth, it's bigger. It's even bigger. But if you bring back like the woolly mammoth and you can actually succeed and make that happen, like what's to stop them from bringing back dinosaurs?
Access to genetic material. Bones are not enough, and the reason they brought back the woolly mammoth, they're considering bringing back the woolly mammoth, is they have an effectively complete specimen.
They found it frozen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
All
trick
right.
to genetics and like recreating something from genetic material is you need to have the blueprints. And if you don't have a stem cell, you're fucked. Like, you're going to need to find the advanced forms of these cells from every part of the body. So I think for T-Rex, they have samples of like foot cells and maybe like a tail or something. I'd have to look it up again. I can't remember. But like, that's not enough material to just make a what's it called?
A whole
A whole
dinosaur.
dinosaur. Even for us, like the hair test, you need a substantial amount of hair. You can't just pluck the one strand,
Yeah.
because even the hair keratin storing the dead skin cells, like any one cell is not enough information.
So then let's go back to just the idea of bringing back a woolly mammoth.
That would be
All
fucking
right.
sick. Like, if it's
But
just
the
the woolly mammoth.
I mean, it went extinct like 4,000 years ago. Like there's not really a point in bringing it back. And this goes back to, Jurassic Park, like nature selected them for extinction.
Well, there is the proof of concept idea, and if they bring back things that are popular, like the dodo, like the mammoth, that 150 million will easily turn into 150 billion, and they can bring back the more impactful things. There are some flora from, I think, Triassic, Mesozoic, somewhere around there, like somewhere in the like 100 to 150 million years ago scale, that have the potential to be therapeutic and used in drugs. Which I'm also getting the time scale wrong. I don't actually know when Triassic and Mesozoic are. Let me actually look at that.
Yeah, you're just talking out of your ass.
Period. Yeah. Triassic was 200 to 250 million. And then Mesozoic. Let's see if I could get Mesozoic right. If it was 100, 150. Zoic. I mean, technically, it's saying 250 to 66 million. Oh, I guess Mesozoic is more of like an... Oh, it covers... It's an era. Whereas Jurassic and Triassic are periods. So technically right, mostly wrong.
Mostly wrong. Fundamentally wrong.
Right.
So then look. So if you're saying they can use it on more important things. So we have more important things right now in our era that have gone extinct. Like, instead of bringing back the woolly mammoth, I get it, proof of concept. Like, if you can bring the dodo back or the woolly mammoth back, then you have proof that it works, right? And then you can get $150 billion instead of $150 million. And like, I think for proof of concept, they should just be worrying about bringing back like the black rhinoceros. that only recently, I think, was it the black rhinoceros that went extinct
White,
recently? The white rhinoceros went, and then the black one isn't very far behind.
Mm-hmm.
So you can bring back the these species of rhinoceros that have been completely wiped out from human problems. Like, we killed them. You know, we are the reason that they're extinct because people wanted their fucking horns because they thought that they were aphrodisiacs or some nonsense. You know,
Yeah.
People are scumbags and they did that. So instead, you bring something like that back for your proof of concept, and now you have this visual proof that you can bring back something important and undo something we did wrong as human beings. Because whether or not the woolly mammoth was affected by overhunting, which I doubt that's like the sole cause of it, because of how many humans there were on the earth 4,000 years ago when they went extinct, was significantly less than now. But it's irrelevant. That's something that's been gone for so long that that's it. We have a chance to rectify something that we did wrong recently. And I think that is a much bigger win than bringing back the fucking dodo, the stupidest looking little animal that probably deserved to die anyways. Like, look at it. How does it?
Yeah.
How did it expect to survive looking like that and being like that? It's just a useless little dumbass.
It's like the Ernie of dinosaurs.
Oh, that's mean. But it's just this goofy thing.
I agree with
around.
you. I agree with you that we should be doing something more impactful. But the problem is, what is backing all of this research? Capitalist enterprise. What does capitalism follow? The money. They don't give a fuck. However, with the proof of concept, more impactful applications are not far behind. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if in our lifetime the white rhino came back because of this. Is it first in line? No.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves too, because they haven't actually done it yet.
Right. And again, with the scarcity of genetic material, you don't want to waste it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if they've kept any epithelial tissue, like skin cells from the rhino. I don't know if they've kept any stem cells, an egg or a sperm. I don't know what they have in terms of genetic material.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm going to bet that they do. I'm going to bet that they have what they need. But they're going to work on something that has a little bit more hype behind it because of the money.
Yeah, and that's all it'd be, is just hype. People are like, oh yeah, it'd be badass. Like what you said.
Yeah.
You just said it'd be awesome if they brought the woolly mammoth back.
I'd love a dodo as a pet. That thing looks goofy as fuck.
Yeah, but see, and then here's another one that it's, like, these are things that are out of their own time, have no idea where they are, what time period they're in. They, how would you even be able to...
Most animals in our current era don't have a concept of time. These animals will not. These don't care.
I mean their surroundings. So these animals, if you clone their genetic material, wouldn't they have certain things ingrained in their DNA that would be time appropriate to when they went extinct?
Yes, but it's all instinctive reactions. Once they get a certain stimulus of this berry, it's ingrained in their memory through selective breeding that they're attracted to this color or shape or whatever, and they'll eat it. But that's a stimulus. Like if you put this, if you put a plastic fabrication of their diet in front of them, they're gonna eat it. They're not that kind of intelligent. Now, can they be trained to eat something else? Can they be trained to eat the diet that's available today for birds? And just strictly talking the dodo, I don't even want to think about the mammoth. I want to say yeah. Hunger is a very good trainer. So, eat or die is effectively what's going to happen, and I think it's going to work just fine. I wouldn't worry too much. It's not like they're going to have an existential crisis because they won't know what an iPhone is.
That's not what I meant.
I know.
You're oversimplifying what I'm saying, but I understand what you mean. Like if you put the stimulus in front of them, that they'll react, and eventually evolution will come back through, and they'll start reacting generationally.
Yeah, and depending on how long a dodo lives, which I'm gonna guess because it's bigger, it lives for at least like 25 years. That's a big ass bird. Let me average lifespan of
Also,
a
woolly
dodo.
mammoths ate trees. And
Yeah, because they were tall enough. Yeah, 10 to 30 years. So
that's how long a dodo lived.
yeah. So
How could they survive that long?
being very careful.
They were only like 40 pounds.
That's a big
Like,
ass bird.
max. Yeah, but 40 pounds isn't that much when you think about it.
Right, but where did they live? They lived on canopy floors of dense forest. Like, the only reason they went extinct is because the forests were thinning out. They lived in the time period where there wasn't as much carbon dioxide in the air, so the era of tree dominance and plant dominance was coming to an end. As the forests started to thin out, bigger and bigger predators could make it into where they were, and that's why they died, because they evolved into zero threats, near zero threats, and so they just got the short end of the stick when all these trees started falling. Shit, what were we just talking about?
I don't know, but they went extinct
yeah.
in 1662.
Yeah, so they were
that's
around not that long ago.
Far more recently, yeah. In the grand scheme of things, it's an inch on the, universal time scale. Like, barely anything.
Right, so I want to guess that they did a just fine enough job of running the hell away.
I wonder how fast the dodo was.
Not very.
Man, you know what? I'm changing my stance. Bring the dodo back, man. I want to see the dodo.
A 40-pound, let's call it 30, a 30-pound fucking chicken.
Essentially.
It's just a big-ass chicken.
We're about halfway through our show, and that means it's time to remind you, if you like what you're not hearing, like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on absolutely nothing important.
Or don't, because no one's going to hear this anyway.
Well, I hope that they get some progress and then use it for good. But
well, here's a good point for bringing them back. Aside from hype, they're a good source of meat.
Dodos.
A 30-pound bird that you could potentially eat, which I'm guessing you can, because it only makes sense that our ancestors might have at least tried.
They're pretty plump.
They're big. Same thing with the woolly mammoth. We used to hunt and eat woolly mammoth. Back in Neanderthal. So, imagine being able to go kill an elephant and eating it as like a thing. Which I think we've I don't know. I don't really want to comment on it because it would involve like African religion and tradition and all that. I don't know enough about it.
Well, I think bringing the woolly mammoth could lead to a certain problem of, wealth and capitalism in this world. Of like, sure, we brought it back and we can clone it, and now people can just hunt it. Like, let's just hunt the woolly mammoth. So, like, we brought it back, made this big PR stunt about it just to have, rich people go on safari to hunt woolly mammoths.
Not if you push it as a food source. Yeah,
but why would you push the woolly mammoth as a food source? No offense, like, to
Yeah,
to the
the
African countries that eat it as a food. I'm not really interested in eating elephant consistently. Like the dodo, maybe because it's just a stupid little bird. But the woolly mammoth is like, it's a full grown mammal. So that means we immediately we have something in common with it at that stage. And like I get it, we eat cows. I love eating cow. I love eating pig. Like I like meat. But I don't know, just the concept of bringing something back, playing God to bring back an animal that went extinct due to natural selection, just to hunt it and kill it, seems a little I don't know,
well, we don't know if it's going to be
devious.
brought back for sport, which I highly
Oh,
doubt it.
but you know it would though,
There's
because like you said, where there's money, it's gonna happen. So there's gonna be money behind something like that.
it's
There's
not going
gonna
to
be
be
people.
it's not going to be a very exciting hunt.
People don't
I'll
care.
tell you that.
People hunt nothing. Like they hunt something that is trapped because they just want to shoot it. Like they'll shoot and kill an elephant or a rhinoceros that's just standing still in the savannah. People don't think like that. It's not about the thrill of the hunt.
So,
It's like it's just
if
bullshit.
if between the dodo and the woolly mammoth coming back, we can alleviate the world hunger problem. I'm not going to say solve it because we all know capitalism will never solve anything. And it would what does it matter if they hunt it for sport? Aside from that,
But
they
just
all
what an absurd notion that you're bringing back the dodo and the woolly mammoth to solve world hunger. Like I doubt that that's what it would be. I mean, that's a romantic idea that you'd be able to solve world hunger with cloning, but that's not what the end game is.
right. That's all utopian.
Yeah, it's all like this is perfect world. We've solved hunger by bringing the dodo and the mammoth back to life that people can hunt and eat. But that's just not how it's gonna go. We also don't know what they could have what is it, a negative carbon footprint. I mean, like you look at like cow farms, the amount of gas that they produce.
Yeah, is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. So
And not only
like
that, we would still have the problem of grains to feed these mammoths.
absolutely, it's just more mouths to feed. Really, the problem is humanity. I
Yeah.
think we can all get behind that one.
No, yeah,
Humanity is the
absolutely.
problem. We have overpopulated, and without any natural predators, we have been fruitful and multiplied. Have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy? Quick pivot.
Yes, but it was a long time ago. I vaguely remember it. I have to rewatch.
Where it takes place 500 years in the future and
Yeah,
everyone is a complete moron.
yeah, I've followed that.
I see a lot of trends from that movie coming true.
Camacho Mountain Dew.
Yeah. His last name was Camacho.
No, yeah,
Mountain Dew,
Dwayne Mountain Dew
absolutely.
Camacho.
He was the president,
Mm-hmm.
a former porn star and WWE champion.
Yeah, no, I see. As much as I would love Idiocracy to actually come to fruition, because I feel like that would just be the natural terminus of the human population or the human race. The fact that we can have spontaneous savantism as just a thing that we've evolved means we will never put ourselves in that rut unless it's purposeful.
What, of just being stupid?
Of just, yeah, like stupidifying ourselves into oblivion.
Well, it's not even so much that it's done intentionally. I mean, it's done because the gene pool has dumbed down. Like there's a divide where it's, like the super intelligent, the super stupid, and the normal people that are just like normal brains, and then you'll have people with lower, higher IQ, etc., and then they'll mate off anyways, and then that'll either dilute it more or build it more. And so there's this back and forth in the middle, and then a steady curve down and up at the top and bottom. So, the high IQ people who only are with other high IQ people, and then the trailer trash that fuck, like six different women and spread their 80 IQ ass everywhere. And they spread like wildfire, while the intelligent people will have maybe one or two kids that are super smart
Yes, and that is a
versus the
trend.
10 or 12 dumbasses.
Yes, that's a trend in the animal kingdom where more intelligent species have fewer offspring. Um, and that also applies to within the species. With a big enough population, you can observe something like that. But the intelligence, like our species derives intelligence from our ability to go through like a logical motion of just anything. Like any, you could apply it to any concept, ambiguous or not. Um, if you're able to go through the motions of a logical finding and then a logical conclusion, that is the broadest definition of intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Find me the dumbest morondongo that you can find, and I'll find a brain cell to rub between their ears. Like, it'll be there. And that is the bare minimum we need as a species. Because, granted, you're going to have those 80 IQ rabbits, but you have 12 kids, and statistics says, yeah, like, the bell curve, 99 and was it 99.5% or whatever, are going to be like within that range of 75, 85. But you still have a quarter of a percent on either side. You can have people, they could drop kids in the 50s and 60s and be just like legally
Disabled.
mentally handicapped. Yeah, like just
Yeah.
but you can also throw it in the other direction. The other direction also has more room to go. So statistically speaking, anything, what is average is what, like 93 or something like that? Just for the sake of whatever, for the sake of conversation, let's say 90. Technically speaking, you have the same chance of landing at 90, but also landing at 110 and 120. Like that, it's a range. It's just, if you look at it as a range
The
of
average IQ is 100.
100. Okay,
Not
so
to
they're
interrupt, but keep going.
putting it at 100. So okay, yeah, you have an equal technique. If you're looking at it as a range thing, you have an equal chance of landing in the 50s as you do in the 110s and 120s or 60s. We'll say 60s because 50
I feel like landing below 100 is more common, like percentage wise.
Also, consider the fact that the IQ test was created by humans.
Yes, it's subject to human error.
Yeah, it's fallible at its core, and we don't really know to what extent. Also, is that really gonna be our definition of intelligence? Like, if we can pass very specific logical tests? Because there are some people I know that are dumb as bricks, but you put in front of them a very specific type of problem, and I've never seen the brilliance that comes out of their eyes in any other person. Just to give you an example, there's a kid at my work. We'll call him Chris. So Chris is Morondongo status. He would definitely be somewhere in the 80 IQ range. Not the brightest crayon in the tool shed. He lives in Podunk nowhere. His family is kind of like the same deal. And he works a very hands-on, kind of labor-intensive job. He doesn't have a solid education. But when that kid talks music theory and you give him a guitar, magic. It's like he turns into this other person. And I struggle keeping up with him talking about music theory. And like, I'm not saying I'm not to say I'm like any good, but I know enough. I know something. And he goes off and he talks about this chord progression and there's a certain cadence. He just goes. And it sounds like I'm talking to someone who studied music for their entire life. But then you tell him to go pull a sample, and he looks at you like, and just like starts drooling. So, is he actually dumb? That's my question to you. Like, knowing that about him, is he really dumb?
No, and I understand that. I mean, strictly, like, when I use IQ, I use it as what I feel like it's intended to be, which is kind of a broad spectrum intelligence. What is it, intelligence quotient or something?
Something like that. Yeah.
That it's kind of just a broad spectrum analysis of your intellect, or your intelligence, rather, not intellect. And so it's not as specific as going into the savant aspect of, well, he's a total moron in the lab, but when it comes to music composition, he is brilliant. There's different degrees and different specialties. I feel like IQ is more of a generalization and a general approach to quantifying intelligence.
So would it be fair to say that intelligence, like I defined it earlier, is related to your ability to logically digest things, logically digest concepts?
Yeah, and digest information.
Okay.
Intake of information. Your ability to process it, your ability to collect it and catalog it.
Apply, synthesize, all the buzzwords.
Yeah, etc.
Okay,
so,
yeah, that's fair.
Like, I wouldn't consider your friend to be an idiot, but when you look at IQ test, if his IQ is a certain one, then that's where it falls in the subject that we're on, where it's this broad concept. Almost an intangible concept that they've tried to put a number on. That's really all the IQ test is, because like you said, intelligence is, it's a moving target. It's not something you're going to be able to, yeah, that person's smart, because if one person's having a conversation with them about something they're passionate about and that they should know about and they don't know a single thing about, and then they go and talk to someone else about something else and that has a completely different result because for some reason that's what their brain can process better. That doesn't mean they're an idiot, but IQ test, they might fail. Well, they might bomb it and get, have an 80 IQ.
Right, like they didn't sleep right the night before or whatever.
Yeah, who knows what the reason is because of that, or behind them getting a what would be considered poor score on an IQ test.
So my problem with IQ just as a concept is the fact that you can train for it. You can get someone who's scored 70. Let's bring it down to 70. These guys are drooling actively. And you can teach them how to pick up information and think more abstractly. You can train them to detect critical pieces of information and filter out the nonsense. Think of like studying for the SAT. Very similar, not exact. Logic training is a little bit more nuanced, but it's everything that I'm saying. You teach someone how to pick up on intellectual cues, for lack of a better term. And I don't like that, because that doesn't reflect who you are. The intellect that you're trying to pull out, that you're trying to reference, is something inherent. It's what you're born with. It's your capacity. And the fact that we're able to artificially inflate and artificially deflate, it goes both ways. The fact that we can change it artificially, it bothers me. And I'm kind of hunting for a different way to express human intellect, like how to define someone's competence, if you will. Because there's think of like a workplace. Here's a good way to apply this idea and this theory. think of a traditional workplace, and I'll use mine as an example. We have my office is the quality control office, and all the quality control officers are there. We're all together. We're all of like similar degrees of professionalism, except for me. I wear t-shirts to work. Then in the hallway, we have the directors. We have we have the director of lab ops. We have the vice president of lab ops, and then the director of the lab. All three of them have an office in that hallway. I can walk 15 feet and go talk to the vice president of lab operations for my company. So just because I come in with we all have meetings on Wednesdays. We all get together. We have our meetings. Everybody's in suits. Everybody's in a dress. Everybody's dressed up. I'm in a fucking t-shirt. You would immediately pin me as the moron, as the person that doesn't actually know anything. Oh, that guy's just an assistant.
Yeah, Mongo.
Right, mongrel status. But I actually just got my annual review, and my boss said I'm a very valuable team member because I contribute a lot of information to the meetings that helps these people at those higher levels. And, she wants me to wear a suit and shit, but I told her no.
That's not happening.
That's not happening. So even just the looks of somebody is not enough to tell you how profound their mind is. Not saying I'm like some, genius in quality control.
Man, we got Einstein here.
Yeah, I'm not Einstein by any means, but I'm definitely more than just a t-shirt than a freaking highlighter yellow Pikachu shirt, which I did wear.
Man.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's some stones, man.
And
that's some cojones.
My ability, now going back to what I'm hunting for as a new description, I can tell you that the lab director of operations is the most intelligent person in the room. More so than the VP, her boss. This lady is sharp as a fucking knife. She's on it. Everything, any little tiny thing, she'll find it, and she'll help you. She's caught some of my mistakes before, and hey, Alex, think about this, be careful, blah blah blah. And I'm talking like the tiniest things. Her attention to detail, her ability to recall things from 2013, 10 years ago, that would apply to something that we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Her ability to not only conjure new information, pull package inserts for chemicals, instrument manuals, just pull them out of thin air from these websites, but then to glance them over and be somewhat competent in whatever you're talking about. That is what I want to describe. It's the capacity for learning.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still an incomplete definition, because your capacity for learning, one, increases as you get older, and two, you can also train how to learn.
And it also depends on the type of information you're trying to intake.
True.
So, if I were to look at numbers-based, information, I struggle to remember that. But I've got a photographic memory, and I can remember words written on a wall that I looked at briefly. and I can remember numbers that are written on a wall briefly, but that doesn't mean that I can digest that information that I have in my head. It doesn't mean anything to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And obviously, I'm a dumbass, and I've always owned that. I'm not. I do what I do for a reason. You know, I don't work in a lab, but like processing information works very differently for different people. So like there can be musical savants like your friend who can pick up an instrument and learn how to play it in a day and be passable with it. And then you can have the most brilliant mathematician who can remember any kind of numerical process, pick up an instrument and break it by accident.
Right.
So that's the problem is we're trying to find a way to define people based on their intelligence when every human being processes different information differently. Like there is no standard way to do it effectively.
Right. And
Like,
I'm starting to become more okay, especially over the course of this conversation. I'm starting to become more okay with just saying that intelligence is relative.
absolutely.
Like we can call someone dumb and just make fun of them because it's funny, and that's comic relief. That's a whole other philosophical point about human behavior. But it doesn't. Uh, One, it has no bearing because what difference does it make if you call someone dumb? And two, they may very well be. They might just be socially awkward. Not even true, like intelligence in the classic sense. They're just socially awkward.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to behave around people. They do something stupid. We laugh at them, but then they go home and they're building the schematics for fucking SpaceX or some shit.
So that makes me think that there's some people that I know that I'm not friends with, but like that communicating with them is a chore to me. That
Yes.
they're the classical definition of morons. But when it comes to learning something mechanical, like if I wanted to work on my own car, like I put a lift kit in my old Jeep, I knew who I was going to, and it was those people. Because when it came to mechanical things like automotive mechanics, they knew everything. They could troubleshoot anything that we encountered, and I learned so much from these people. But talking to them about anything else is mind-numbing. It makes you think, like, how do you walk the earth like this? But then they come in and they're this mechanical genius, and that's an exaggeration, of course, but they have so much more knowledge on the subject and so much and a much better grasp of it and its concepts than I could have. And maybe it's because of exposure to it, muscle memory, but then the problem solving that they exhibit when we're working on these things is, I mean, it's fucking inspirational sometimes. Like, how can you possibly figure that out? How did you know that was the problem? And then you ask them, like 2 plus 2 real quick, and they'll be like 6, got your ass. It's like, you fucking moron. No, it's not 6. And that's the kind of people like that, that I know. And that just goes to show, like, there's no way to quantify intelligence. It's crazy. It's all relative.
But and the last problem that I have with it is because it's a spectrum. Now that we're there, intelligence is a spectrum, and it's relative. You still land on a point within the spectrum. It might be multidimensional. It might be, you're a level 10 mechanic but a level 1 mathematician kind of deal. But just the nature of creating a point means you must define it. Like, where do you place this point? What are the parameters? Even if it's multidimensional, you still have You need to put values in these dimensions. Where is the where's your point? Like what's how do we call the point? And you know, it might end up just being one of those things that you just got to get over it. There's no answer. It's one of those life questions where there's no fucking answer. And it pains me, but I'm willing to secede that.
It's frustrating, isn't it?
Or cede, not secede. It is a little frustrating, yeah. Like
secede is what the South did.
Yes, for states' rights.
Yeah. You almost got away with that one.
Yeah, and it is a really frustrating conclusion to such an interesting concept, because we're the only species that exhibits this kind of intelligence. Every other species is intelligent because they are resourceful, but even resourcefulness is also relative. A kid in Africa has a much lower ceiling on their resources to be resourceful with than someone born here in the States. So it's like, is the rocket scientist out in Uganda? Is his name Clicky Clicky Dirk Dirk? I don't know. We'll never know because we don't have the metric that I'm looking for.
No. No. I don't think Clicky Clicky Dirk Dirk has the answers you're looking for, though, if I'm being honest with you. I met him. He's a good dude.
He's a good dude.
He's not a rocket scientist.
And see that, and I know you're able to pick it up too, because like you were saying, just extrapolating from what you were saying, rather, I know you can sense how intelligent someone really is. You can look behind the bullshit. If someone's playing dumb, or if they really are dumb, or you just so happen to hit a topic that they're very familiar with, or maybe they're just very well versed in everything because they read, and they just so happen to remember this thing, and they're able to synthesize and extrapolate.
That's also, but that right there, what you just said, where they read a lot, for instance, that's that difference between intelligence and intellect. And I think, like book smart people, you could be book smart, but you can be, if you are poised with a task you don't know anything about, and someone who isn't book smart, you have the exact same situation, no knowledge of it prior, whatever, you gotta learn how to do it on the fly without any books, and you have to use intuition and problem solving ability. Like, who do you think wins in that?
Whoever has the better intuition.
Exactly. And so would that be the intellectual or the person who is naturally intelligent?
Again, you can train intuition. Mm-hmm. Just to cover my own argument, you can still train that intuition. It's difficult, but you can. And you're absolutely right. The person who has that stronger sense of intuition and problem solving and reverse engineering, I guess you could even throw in there a strong sense of just working backwards. Mm-hmm. They'll succeed.
That's basic problem solving,
right? And there are people that they can take as many of those classes as they want, and they'll never figure it out. They just don't get it. But at the same time, are they actually dumb? Like, are they?
Well, I'm just going strictly from what you had said, that the person who read a lot.
Yeah.
It's not even so much the debate on who's smarter. It's just that thought of who would succeed in that. Because I feel like I've been able to tell. It's okay, well, this person's well read, but they're also kind of an idiot. I know people who did exceptionally well, back in college and talking to them, it's like, man, how do you have a master's degree? You know, it's because they were able to read and absorb the information in those books. That doesn't make them intelligent, that makes them an intellectual.
So here's a question. When you're looking at leaders of a field of anything, it's not necessarily science, just any sort of career path, do you want them to be intelligent or an intellectual?
See, that's where I was getting to.
Do you want someone who can pick up a book and figure it out? Or do you want someone who can figure it out because they knew to go get a book? Okay, yeah, that's probably how I'm going to end up phrasing it. Intellect versus intellectual. Intellect is knowing you need to get a book. An intellectual is knowing which book to get. Or I'm sorry, no, it would be the other way around. Yeah.
You're losing me, man. Look, so what I'm going to say about it, like, so the intellectual will go buy the book. And so if the book doesn't explicitly tell you how to handle something, they're not going to be able to handle it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a fair point, yeah.
I will almost always rather have someone who is who is intelligent naturally, that they have the ability to problem solve given the information at hand, rather than someone who's busy flipping through the pages trying to find it and racking their brain thinking like, oh shit, well, where was this in the book? Where do I find this? While the other person is working it out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's what I would prefer, especially, well, in my field, like, the book only gets you so far, man.
Right. No, same here.
in my life, you don't really read much of the book. Everything is pretty hands-on and then experience-based. So you have to experience it, and someone else can tell you how to do it, and then that only gets you so far, because then you're going to have to problem solve yourself. And so thinking on the fly, to me, is one of the most critical traits of humanity. That's what's gotten us so far. Well, kept us alive for so long, I'd say.
Would you agree?
When it comes to like going far, intellect has helped.
Would you agree that both of those ideas, the intellect and the intellectual, are just two sides of the same coin? And we just we kind of feed off of each other?
Absolutely, and I think you can have both. You know, you don't, just because you're one primarily doesn't mean you can't also be the other. I mean, if you look at some of the most brilliant minds in history, I doubt very much that they relied solely on a book.
Yeah.
Or solely on instinct. There was a degree of both. They're complementary.
Yes, the best minds used both. Problem solving in books.
Absolutely.
And
because someone, if they're even the one writing the book, they're going to need the intelligence and the knowledge to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I feel like Einstein, you know, he was probably both.
Yeah.
Philosophers, you know, when you look at people like Socrates, they were likely both. They were intellectuals, mm-hmm. They were very well read and well versed, but they also were free thinkers. They had their brain going in different directions than just what the books they were reading was told, and that's how people, you know, discovered the stars and what they meant. They discovered the planet was round, not fucking flat, which is
the dumbest thing ever. Yes.
In retrospect, it's like, how'd you think that?
Because of the Bible, it's a biblical thing.
The Earth is flat.
Yeah.
In the Bible.
And there's a dome, and the stars are. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not religious, so I'm not going to talk about that. But it doesn't matter because, you know, no one's going to hear this anyways.
Yeah, no one's going to hear any of this anyway.
But I think, you know, People are pretty fucking stupid, though. That's all the time we have for today's episode. If you like what you're not hearing, like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on absolutely nothing important, or don't.
Because no one's going to hear this anyway.